Lovely. That was a powerful shot, Nigel.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
But power is not everything.
Quite true.
So what is? A slow swing can get you a fabulous shot.
Well, I'm a great believer that if you're playing golf, you should have a nice slow swing and just enjoy the walk. And forget about the power and forget about the workplace.
Forget about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's not competition and business on the course for you?
There's enough competition in the office space.
As always,
Let's enjoy life when we're on the golf course.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd be very curious to know how you got into golf, something that came with a job?
A little bit. I actually was too old to play football, and I realised my legs were not going to be carrying me around a football pitch much longer. So I thought, what can I do next? I wanted to do something that just, gave you a nice walk and got you in the fresh air. A bit like, when you're outside, you just want to be there playing and doing something that takes you around a nice golf course.
Well, I have to admit, you're quite a special guest on my show because you've worked in companies that people dream of. Rolls-Royce, in the aviation sector in several firms, and now you are part of Interglobe, wherein you're into the private jet market. What does it feel like? Privileged?
Very. Very. I've been very, very lucky, and I think it's only right that I make that comment that, people say they have a career plan and they track out their life and they track out their career. I think I've just been very fortunate that opportunities have come along, and when those opportunities have come along, I've taken them. And now, almost 6 years in with Interglobe, I mean, it's one of the thriving companies in India and a great company to be a part of.
Indeed, it is, especially since it's among those that's surviving in the broad aviation, civil aviation space. But talking of the private jet market, I guess it's good to be in a place where they will not say that if you put $1 billion in aviation today, you'll be down to $1 million tomorrow.
No, that's definitely not the case. I mean, the business aviation, particularly in India, is a tool. And it's a tool that you use for, businessmen to get from A to B and from them to use their time more valuably. So, people do recognise that. And that's what we're seeing more and more with companies across India that want to have that better connectivity and better use of their management time.
Do you think that the Indian market at the moment does look at some levels to be a bit capped for the private jet market? I mean, we know the conglomerates. We know that both the Reliance brothers are into it, the SR or the GMR kinds. I know they're constantly using private jets and going from one place to the other. But how much more can this market grow?
You look at it today, there's probably 250, close to 275 aircraft in India. I mean, a population of 1.2 billion, a middle class that's sort of growing, and high net worth individuals of how many thousands. You've got to believe that the numbers could rise to maybe 1,000 by 2020, and I think most manufacturers would believe in that.
So that's quite a bullish target then.
It is a bullish target, and I think, to me that seems probably a little bit too bullish, particularly when you consider that maybe the infrastructure is not quite there yet. The duty remains an issue when you import an aircraft. So, overall I would still say that, if it had a 50% growth from where we are today by 2020, I think everybody would be happy.
Where is the growth rate going for the private jet market? We're talking about less than 200 aircraft in India today. The rate of growth that we're looking at, is that something driven by in a directly proportional way to bottom lines of companies?
I think so, but I think it's also a question of, if you look at some of the major companies in India, some of their plants have opened up now across areas of India that are quite rural. So connectivity is an issue. I mean, nobody wants to take 8 hours to reach a plant from Mumbai, for instance, when they can take 45 minutes or an hour in a jet. So, that's where we're seeing a lot of the growth coming from, and we see a lot of interest from particularly in the mining area, which although has got its own problems at the moment, but it'll come out of that, we all know that, and we believe that that area is something that will see big growth.
I'd be wanting to know whether India is unique compared to the rest of emerging world in its approach to the private jet market. Is it any different? What makes it different than the others?
I think for one, it's slower. It's been slower on the uptake. I mean, if you take China, for instance, I think we all recognise that China has recognised the need for business jets and sees the advantages. So they've seen massive growth in the last 2 to 3 years. Even in the world climate that we're in, they've seen growth. But I think what hinders growth here is the bureaucracy and the fact that the government places such huge tax and regulatory issues on the actual import of an aircraft. And that is not helpful, and that will always have a...
Are the policymakers or the DGCA even listening to what you have to request for? Remove the duties?
I mean, nobody's asking to remove the duties. I think that would be too much to ask. But
just reduce them.
Reduce it. I mean, why would it be close to 20%? I mean, it's 18.5% now.
Yeah.
If you bring in a private aircraft into private category, and not only that, it takes you 3 to 4 months to get the permission to import that aircraft. Why? There's no need for it. You look at any other country in the world, I don't think that happens, and I don't think anybody would argue that they should pay some duty. But if, a guy has earned his living...
Because tax the rich is actually a story that started in America and it's played out here, and it's fair.
It is fair, but then look at it this way. So a gentleman buys an aircraft. Let's say he's a multi-millionaire and he wants to buy an aircraft because he believes that will help his business. What will happen next? The business will grow, jobs will be created, and from there you'll start to see more people have
and the CEOs will fly.
And the CEOs will fly.
Okay, private jets is one business, and that includes Hawker, Beechcraft.
Yeah, we have Hawker, Beechcraft, we have Sikorsky helicopters, which is the real sort of royal family VIP helicopter that we sell. And then we've got a couple of other products, including a 19-seater regional aircraft. And that's one that we do believe has got massive potential in India.
Are you fond of rescuers?
No, I don't use them. I guess I'm just traditional in that respect. I believe that, although I have gone to graphite shafts as I've got a little bit older, to give you that little bit more distance, but no, the rest of the time I just stick to the old traditional type clubs.
That's in golf, but I'm sure rescuers come handy when it's time to get the business back on course.
Yeah, and I always think the best way to get the business on track is to just think outside the box and just start working on plans to keep your business going in the right way.
I was talking about yachts to you earlier, and that's something we want to delve deeper into. Is that market somewhat threatened today because that's really discretionary spending? It's not even business usage. True.
I think I wouldn't say it's in trouble in any way, shape or form. I would say it's just such a nascent market. People have not yet grasped the idea of, if you like, having holidays and spending time in their leisure time. A lot of CEOs that we work with, the CEOs, the MDs, the chairmen, they typically will work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they love their job, and they obviously love working for the company, and they see very little interest in taking time out for leisure. I would say that's changed in the last 2 years. I'm starting to see a lot more people discuss with us, about the fact that they want to have the aircraft to fly from here to Europe. They want to have their yacht based in Europe. They want to have a boat. They want to have a nice car. What I've seen is that the fact that companies are now moving overseas in a big way, they start to see the things that happen in the Western world and how people spend their time. And, why shouldn't people rightly enjoy that?
Or more than just a holiday, they could do a business proposition there on a yacht.
Absolutely, and we do see that. I mean, we put that together as a package whereby, if they buy the yacht, we'll charter hours off them, or weeks off them, as we should say, for the yachting space. And we have companies that we work with in Europe that will take those yachts and actually charter it and drive some revenue for them.
So tell me a little bit about the kind of pricing that you guys have on offer on your yachts and planes.
Typically, you'll start with a list price. So the list price can stem from anything from $1 million in the case of one of our boats through to one of our super yachts, which is $80 million. So what you've got to focus on is what does the customer want. Once you understand that and you understand the customer's needs, what is his budget? Because not everybody wants to spend 80 million and some people want to spend more than 1 million.
Yeah.
Once you've got that, you get
not
to
everybody's
the point.
Vijay Mallya.
No, not everybody is.
In various respects.
Yeah. And then you start to have negotiation, and then it comes down to a factor of, do we want to sell it, and does he or she want that product enough?
So we were talking of Vijay Mallya, someone you worked with before. You helped set up the initial years of Kingfisher into the aviation business. The days of glory, let me put it that way. What was it like to work, one, with Vijay Mallya and two, with Kingfisher, just as it was starting out?
I would say probably it was one of the most fascinating roles I've ever held. It wasn't long enough. It should have been much longer. I'd like to have still been there today if I had my way. And
why didn't
you? At the end of the day, Vijay and the brand and the whole image of Kingfisher is Vijay, and you've got to respect that. And he wants to run it the way he wants to run it, and it didn't work out. We didn't see eye to eye on a few issues, and we parted ways. But we're still friends. We still keep in touch, and I wish him the best of luck.
What do you think is happening to the aviation sector in India? Everyone's still bullish from an outside investor point of view, but internally the cost pressures are just mind-boggling.
Sure. No, the cost pressures are mind-boggling. You look at the population again, and I think I've said this once before, 1.2 billion people. That's a lot of people that you can attract to fly.
Yeah.
And, you could argue, well, not many people can afford to fly, but fares are still reasonably priced. I mean, I think they've not changed dramatically from 1990-something to today. So, they've got to believe that overall the business will just continue to grow.
So what was the one lesson that you learned during your years at aviation?
Oof, interesting question. By one lesson, I've had many lessons. Everything takes time. Aviation is a very long-term business. Nothing is short-term, and that you have to be prepared to, accept that there will be times when deals or plans that you're making just don't come to fruition, and they take much longer. I don't think that's different to many other businesses, but in aviation, it can be quite frustrating because you have to plan your business accordingly.
And you need jumbo jet size of patience required
that you do.
to get it. Tell me, you've always loved India when you came here 19 years ago for the first time. What made you fall in love with India? That too 2 decades ago.
I just love the vibrancy of the place. I just love the people. I mean, you'd rarely go anywhere in the world where you see so many smiles. And I think it's always been fascinating for me how you can have this incredible poverty that exists in this country, yet you see such happy people. And I think it was also a case of I just recognised that India could be on the cusp of something big, and surely 20 years later here we are talking about India, and look at where we are today.
That is so true. And your first job in India was with Rolls-Royce?
With Rolls-Royce, yeah, looking after Indian Airlines all those years ago.
So you were always close to the sector that's in the news.
Absolutely, yeah. Always.
Yeah. There's so much precision involved in the space that you are. What do you think is the quality of a leader in terms of keeping up with that precision, that need of a business, which is to be not just punctual with work, but be precise?
My favourite saying, and my team will laugh when I say this, is the 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance. And for me, if you follow that mantra and you use that mantra every day, I think you can pretty much work your way through anything and be as precise as possible.
For you, who were the big mentors? Who changed the game in your career?
I would say 2 people really. One of them was a boss I had in Rolls-Royce many years ago, who probably recognised something in me that maybe other people didn't, and gave me opportunities to prosper in Rolls-Royce, and I took on 2 or 3 new roles and took on challenges in Asia Pacific for the Rolls-Royce team, and was very successful. Very fortunate. As I say, for me, a lot of this business is right place, right time, and I think I probably was in the right place at the right time. That helped enormously. So that was one. And I think the second one really is Raoul, my current MD of Interglobe, and not wishing to say this on TV just because he may watch it, but he made a very interesting comment to me 5 years ago, and it's always stuck with me. I was interviewing somebody and I wanted to employ them for a job, and he said to me, "Nigel, why have you asked me this question?" I said, "Well, I just want to get your approval and feel that we're going in the right direction." He said, "Listen, I employ you to do a job, and during the course of your time with us, I just hope you make more good decisions than bad." And I thought, what a great way to run a business, and it gives you such confidence, and you have such ability to work with your own skills.
And he knows what he wants.
Exactly.
It's probably around those 5 years ago that I played a very short round of golf and had a massive debate with Rahul about the difference between a budget airline and a no-frill airline. That's something I can never forget. But that said, he also plays golf, and he's a damn good golfer at that. And
did you lose money to him that day?
Well, I have to admit, we quite didn't complete the round for many reasons. But you have to tell me, do you play with him? And if so, do you believe in losing to the boss or winning over him?
So unfortunately, I mean, he travels an awful lot, and he spends a lot of time with family and friends when he's outside the office. So I don't have the pleasure of playing with him often as I like. But no, I wouldn't lose to him just because he's the boss. Definitely not. Definitely
not. He needs to know that he's employed the right people who play well.
Absolutely.
Courses that you've been really wanting to go to, since you've traveled so much in the region, where have you played? What have you sort of enjoyed the most?
So I played a lot in Singapore, which I think the courses there are just beautiful, spectacular and well run. I do like the Indian courses. I have to say there's some great courses. JP Greens I've played quite a lot, and out on Classic I've played, and I've played Delhi Golf Club. So Delhi Golf Club for me is something that's very special. It's a very old-fashioned course, but it's actually in the city, the heart of the city, and you would never know you were there.
That's it.
So, and then in Asia, I've played Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia. So, very fortunate to have played some lovely courses.
So, the course that's on your bucket list?
Would have to be St Andrews.
It would?
It would have to be. I
You
think
do
it's
know
the
that
home of golf.
that St Andrews is also open on Sundays as a public park for people to take a long walk.
I do, yeah. Maybe I'll do that and not ruin the golf.
Yeah, that's true. You know, as we sort of approach the green, I think the bigger question is, 5 years down, do you see the luxury business take a brand new scale in India? I mean, we've surprised ourselves in smaller ways. A small car market where people are now just completely, you know, they're suckers for the SUV, for example. And that's a good contrast to give you a sense of how luxury is sort of latched on into the country. Do you think that's how some of the more high-end luxury stories will play out?
I think so. I think you could only see growth in this sector. Now, will it grow, you know, exponentially? I suspect not. But will it grow with a double-digit growth year on year? Absolutely.
And that's the aim.
That's the aim, for sure. And in the yacht business, the same.
I can fairly make out that Sevi is the guy that you followed.
Absolutely.
All the years that he played great golf.
He did.
And was a great man, that's to say.
I think so.
Yeah. And that's why good people can make good golfers. Good golfers can also be good people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the rapid fire.
Okay.
Well, we already know the bucket course that you have on your list, but the important one is play at dawn or at dusk.
Dawn.
Play with Shaili Chopra or Jack Nicklaus.
Sevi Ballesteros.
Pet peeve on the course.
Slow play.
The one thing that you don't like about people in business.
They lack patience.
The one thing that you think you'd like to explore as a career but you haven't yet.
Hotel business.
Even if it loses money, just as sometimes aviation does?
Well, I wouldn't like it to lose money, but yeah.
What's the biggest bet that you've ever had on a course?
I played a ground with a gentleman in Singapore once for £100, and that was a lot of money to me in those days.
Did you lose or win?
I lost. Don't tell my wife.
All right, here's to winning ways in the future. Thanks so much for
Pleasure.
joining us.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.